make no mistake, we need to end an era in Washington where accountability has been absent.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your demanding schedule. My pleasure. The content of your request seemed like something I should carve out a few minutes for. I should point out that I voted for you, as your promises of hope and change, transparency and accountability, as well as putting government back into the hands of the American people, it struck an emotional chord in me that I hadn't felt in quite some time, perhaps ever. And I appreciate that, Charlie. Big fan of the show, by the way. Sir, in the very near future, we will be experiencing our first 9/11 anniversary, with you as Commander-in-Chief. Yes, a very solemn day for our nation, a day of reflection, and yet a day of historical consciousness as well. Are you aware, Mr. President, of the recent stunning revelations that 60% of the 9/11 commissioners have publicly stated that the government agreed not to tell the truth about 9/11, and that the Pentagon was engaged in deliberate deception about their response to the attack? No disrespect, Mr. Sheen, but I have to ask, what is it that you seem to be implying with the initial direction of this discussion? I am not implying anything, Mr. President. I am here to present the facts and see what you plan to do with them. And I'm telling you that we must move forward. We must endure through these dangerous and politically challenging years ahead. Mr. President, we cannot move forward with a bottomless warren of unanswered questions surrounding that day and its aftermath. I read the official report, every word, every page. Perhaps you should do the same. I have, sir, and so have thousands of family members of the victims, and guess what? They have the same questions I do, and probably a lot more. I didn't lose a loved one on that horrific day, Mr. President, and neither did you. But since then, I, along with millions of other Americans, lost something we held true and dear for most of our lives in this great country of ours. We lost our hope. And I'd like to believe that I am here to restore that hope. And I appreciate your passion, I appreciate your conviction. In spite of your concerns, in spite of what your data might or might not reveal, what you and the families must understand and accept is that we are doing everything we can to protect you. Mr. President, I realize we're very short on time, so please allow me to run down a list of bullet points that might illuminate some of the reasons why we don't embrace that warm hug of federal protection. We've come this far. Fire away. Please keep in mind, Mr. President, everything I'm about to say is documented as fact and part of the public record. The information you are holding in your hands chronicles and verifies each and every point. You have 5 minutes left. The floor is yours. Brief me. Okay, first, on the FBI's most wanted list, Osama bin Laden is not charged with the crimes of 9/11. When I called the FBI to ask them why this is the case, they replied, "There's not enough evidence to link bin Laden to the crime scene." I later discovered he had never even been indicted by the Department of Justice. Number 2, FBI translator Sybil Edmonds was dismissed and gagged by the DOJ after she revealed that the government had foreknowledge of plans to attack American cities using planes as bombs as early as April 2001. In August of 2009, Mrs. Edmonds broke the federal gag order and testified under oath that Osama bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban were all working for and with the CIA up until the day of 9/11. Number 3. The following is a quote from Mayor Giuliani during an interview on 9/11 with Peter Jennings for ABC News. Quote, "I went down to the scene and we set up headquarters at 75 Barclay Street, which was right there with the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, the head of emergency management, and we were operating out of there when we were told that the World Trade Center was going to collapse. And it did collapse before we could actually get out of the building. And so we were trapped in the building for 10-15 minutes, and finally found an exit and got out, walked north, and took a lot of people with us." End quote. Who told him this? To this day, this question remains unanswered, completely ignored and emphatically denied by Mayor Giuliani on several public occasions. Number 6. 3 F-16s assigned to Andrews Air Force Base, 10 miles from Washington, D.C., are conducting training exercises in North Carolina, 207 miles away, as the first plane crashes into the World Trade Center. Even at significantly less than their top speed of 1,500 miles per hour, they could still have defended the skies over Washington well before 9 a.m., more than 37 minutes before Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon. However, they did not return until 9:55 a.m. Andrews Air Force Base had no armed fighters on alert and ready to take off on the morning of 9/11. Number 8. Flight 93 is the fourth plane to crash on 9/11 at 10:03 a.m. Vice President Cheney only gives shoot-down orders at 10:10 to 10:20 a.m., and this is not communicated to NORAD until 28 minutes after Flight 93 is crashed. Fueling further suspicion on this front is the fact that 3 months before the attacks of 9/11, Dick Cheney usurped control of NORAD, and therefore he and no one else on planet Earth had the power to call for military sorties on the hijacked airliners on 9/11. He did not exercise that power, and 3 months later, after 9/11, he relinquished command of NORAD and returned it to military operations. Well, Charlie, I can't say that this hasn't been interesting. As I said earlier, you've showed up today focused and organized. Regardless of how I feel about the material you've presented, I must commend your dedication and zeal. However, our time is up. Mr. President, one more second. Mr. President, I implore you, based on the evidence you now possess, to use your executive power, prove to us all, sir, that you do in fact care. Create a truly comprehensive and open congressional investigation into 9/11 and its aftermath. The families deserve the truth. The American people and the rest of the free world deserve the truth, Mr. President. Make sure you're on the right side of history. I am on the right side of history. Thank you, Charlie. My staff and I will be in touch.